Ah, there you are again, mate. Coming close. Just a bit closer. Closer. Even closer. Because the more you think you see, the easier it will be for me to pull you. Are you watching closely this time? Listen. We all touch our faces. You might rest your chin on your hand. You might rub your head forward. Or rub your eyes. Might even perhaps brush a hair off your face, itching your nose. Perhaps sometimes you even cry. But to just see it. Let's try it again. Coming close. Just a bit closer. Closer. Even closer. Because the more you think you see, the easier it will be for me to pull you. Are you watching closely now? Listen. According to the CDC, as of June 1st, 2024, nearly 1.2 million Americans had died of COVID-19. Over 20,000 just last year. Scientific researchers, however, examining this rather normal human behavior of touching your own face remain divided on exactly how many times per day a person touches their face, with estimates ranging between 23 times and 50 times in an hour. Some others suggest that it varies between 9 and 162 times per hour, sometimes depending on whether you're nervous or irritated. But on April 5th, 2021, it's an important date. The CDC had published official guidance that had even made some headlines in the news pertaining to the risk of what is often described as indirect transmission, and which scientists describe as fomite transmission through casual contact, not with other persons with whom you engaged in social distance, but contact with any contaminated surfaces. This report was intended to disseminate information to the general public need to know, to advise them on usages of disinfectants and sanitization recommendations. But did you say it? Let's try again. Coming close. Coming closer, mate. Just a bit closer. Even closer. Because the more you think you see, the easier it will be for me to pull you. Are you watching closely? Now listen. The risk of fomite-mediated transmission, as this occurrence is often also described by scientists, is dependent upon multiple factors, including the type of surface, but also the dose of virus particles actually needed to cause an infection through the mucous membrane route, the upper respiratory tract, nose and mouth. And as intriguing as it is that this scientific paper had not been published until over a year after the pandemic declaration, what may be perhaps one of the most important bits of information that had not been shared with the general public, at least not conspicuously, was the quantity of particles that were required to bring about the onset of a disease condition of infection. Did you ever think to ask how many contaminating particles on an exposed surface that you were probably diligently cleaning must one contact to transmit the virus? The CDC does not say. More mysterious than the origin to the virus. Did you say it? Let's try again. Coming close. Just a bit closer. 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 Even closer. Because the more you think you're saying, the easier it'll be for me to fool you. Again. Are you watching closely? Now, listen. The average person might touch their face approximately 15 to 23 times every hour during waking hours. And of course, especially in a pandemic involving a respiratory tract infection like COVID-19, the most concerning element of this frequency of movements is the consistent targeting of the T-zone, of that area encompassing your eyes, nose, and mouth, where mucous membranes are located. Where contaminants can get in and cause sickness. Data consistently show that nearly half of all non-essential facial touches involves these very specific areas, creating a direct path for pathogens into the body. Perhaps you'd like to pose like Rodin and look like you're thinking. You may have called yourself an infection, mate. And an average person like yourself may touch your face an average of 23 times per hour, with 44% of those contacts directed at a mucous membrane site within this T-zone of the nose, mouth, and eyes. And how many particles, by common sense, would be most essential information for a person over a year into a pandemic to know, so as to develop a rationally calculated plan to prevent this rather hazardous occurrence? However, that was not done. Did you see it? Let's try again. Coming close. Just a bit closer, mate. Closer. Even closer. Because the more you think you're seeing, the easier it'll be for me to fool you. Are you watching closely, mate? Now listen. Certainly during the COVID-19 pandemic, official public guidance, health guidance, had recommended masking as a means to mitigate and prevent the spread of the disease. A desirable outcome. However, no mask or facial covering available for usage by the general public is effective 100% of the time, and even an N95 is named as such because it is equipped with a respirator that can effectively filter particles measuring 0.3 microns or larger. It is at least 95% efficient at blocking airborne particles, but still even that needs to be properly fitted, cared for, and used properly. And so here, it might be considered need-to-know information. Exactly how many particles must be blocked by this masking device for facial cover, in addition to perhaps when wearing an N95. Exactly how small or large these particles that must effectively be blocked actually are. A respirator on an N95 effectively filtering particles 0.3 microns or larger would only be effective so long as no particles are smaller than that. That simply makes sense. But did you say it? Let's try again. Coming close. Just a bit closer. Even closer. Because the more you think you see, the easier it will be for me to fool you. Are you watching closely this time? Now, listen. Even an N95 is only effective against tear gas for up to 1 hour, and SARS-CoV-2, the causative agent for COVID-19, which according to the CDC can be expected under typical indoor environmental conditions to remain viable on non-porous surfaces for up to 3 days or 72 hours, can remain suspended in the air for minutes to hours. You could step in and out of that elevator and your particles might still be there, presenting the risk of what has become popularly known as a breakthrough infection. This is a lot of information that the general public was not being told, or seems not to have been told, and had not been previously told by the CDC, the official guidance providers for the government, despite the passage of 2 consecutive presidential administrations by that time. However, they say that being a wise guy is not so much about what you know as much as regarding how much you actually understand. An ability to engage in a little bit of analysis of information that is provided, those critical thinking skills, especially about a highly contagious disease. Did you see it? Did you see it soon enough? Let's try again. Coming close. Just a bit closer. Closer. Even closer. Because the more you think you see, Mike, the easier it will be for me to fool you again. Are you watching closely? Now, listen. The date was April 5th, 2021 for the final form, but the original draft had first been published on March 24th, 2021, just 1 day after a request for information about this very information had made its way to the White House. The pandemic had been declared over a year before on March 11th, 2020. Over 500,000 Americans had died by the first anniversary of the pandemic, and in a report that had even made a headline on Fox News. By April 5th, 2021, over 40% of adults had already had at least 1 dose of the vaccine. 75% of seniors too had by then at least received 1 shot, while more than half were already fully vaccinated since the vaccines had first become available in December 2020 and issued under, and this is rather important, right, an emergency use authorization. An emergency use authorization, circumventing the normal procedures for private label marketing, which would not occur until August 23rd, 2021. Did you see it? Let's try it again. Coming closer. Just a bit closer. Closer. Even closer. The more you think you see, the easier it'll be for me to pull you. Are you watching closely this time? Now, listen. If, for purposes of fraudulent concealment, a legal term of art, the management knows that certain facts will necessarily prevent the regulatory approval. And they have an FDA approval coming up on August 23rd, 2021, and conceals these facts from the investing public, then there is what is known as actionable scienter. And that is why this scientific report, published in final form on April 5th, 2021, becomes rather most important, because on that date, relying upon a hasty review of previously published studies from 2020, the year before, with no recent studies from after the beginning of the Biden administration, the CDC had made what is called an official acknowledgement that these studies from the previous year had suggested information that could have gotten out in the previous year that a person had less than a 1 in 10,000 chance for indirect or full mediated transmission, which the CDC had said means, at that time, that each contact with a contaminated surface, each time that hand goes down, touches, comes back up, perhaps to touch your nose, your mouth, has a less than 1 in 10,000 chance of causing an infection. Did you see it? Let's try it one more time. Coming close. Just a bit closer. Closer. Even closer, mate. Because the more you think you see, the easier it will be for me to fool you yet again. Or you're watching closely this storm. Now listen, highly contagious disease is actually a rather rare occurrence in nature. And after a pandemic, you should know about it, having done at least a little bit of research. And also is a prerequisite sine qua non for setting off a super spreader event. Now, you believe that we had a highly contagious disease, so that kind of makes sense. We might have a super spreader event. And scientists have known this since at least the 1980s. But a month later, a month after this April 5th report, on May 7, 2021, the CDC would publish yet another scientific report in which, in official acknowledgement, the government would concede that the infectious dose of SARS-CoV-2 needed to transmit infection, that important number that was missing, had not yet been established. They had no idea, at least officially, how many particles might cause an infection. Officially. And for those who understand the math, the CDC had even informed the general public on April 5th, 2021, that in their professional, expert opinion, the risk of indirect transmission through contact with the contaminated surface was assessed as low 0.01%, or about your chance of winning an exact match in a pick-ball lottery game. But what they did not tell anyone, besides the fact that the amount of particles that had to be transmitted to that T-zone, where almost half of all contacts occur between your hands and nose with your hands, remained unknown, is actually the most important. Being a wise guy is not just knowing, but also understanding, mate. Even today, according to official guidance published by the CDC, COVID-19 is a disease caused by SARS-CoV-2 virus, and it can be very contagious and can spread quickly. But did you know that no highly contagious disease requires more than 15 particles in infectious dose, or the exact amount of particles needed to transmit infection? And so, in a bit of a code, what the CDC did not say directly on April 5th, 2021, at least to those that did not have a need to know, was that if you have only a 0.01% chance of touching your nose or your mouth up to 23 times per hour and catching COVID-19, this reportedly highly contagious disease, they were actually saying, I suppose here's a question, get those creative juices flowing, a little bit of analysis. Would you take a vaccine as a rational person to prevent the chance of being transmitted up to 15 particles if your chances were as high as winning an exact match on a big ball lottery ticket, right? Well, by April 5th, 2021, over 40% of adults had already taken that chance, along with 75% of seniors. And today, Mike, perhaps you're one. 8 in 10 Americans had done the same. Last question, Mike. Who won the game?
And unfortunately, he didn't make it. And so now, the war is over. I get out of Hotel Saigon. I made my way to your house. And now, son, I'm giving that war watch to you.
We did all we could do. He just didn't make it. This message was approved by Major Mike Webb. Honest. Honest.
It's Quentin's. Always.